Welcome to On the Vineyard, a weekly podcast from the Vineyard Gazette Media Group on Martha's Vineyard. I'm publisher Monica Brady-Meyerov. We're so glad you're here. On the Vineyard is sponsored by Crane Appliance. The cost of the ferry is going up across the board. About a 5% fare increase goes into effect January 1st. The increase will help close a budget gap at the Steamship Authority. And the bucolic pastures and rock walls of Chilmark are the perfect setting for a drive in the countryside, especially in the fall. But behind the beauty, there's concern about contaminated drinking water.
We've been seeing PFAS in Chilmark specifically, especially in people's private drinking wells.
More on that story in a moment. Last Saturday, the wooden weigh-in station was packed, with everyone counting down the seconds to the closing bell of the Martha's Vineyard Striped Bass and Bluefish Derby. And boy, did the bell ring. Because Sam Bell ended up winning the whole thing. He caught an 18.66-pound false albacore on a boat, and he did it on the first day of the Derby. And then on Sunday, Bell pulled the winning key and won the boat. Back in 2013, Bell won a Chevy Silverado for his 13.24-pound boat-caught false albacore. That's pretty cool that he's won a car and a boat. They don't give away cars anymore, just boats. And when I look out the window of my exercise class at the YMCA, I see a big pile of dirt and heavy equipment. That's because the YMCA has broken ground on its expansion. It's adding 39,000 square feet to house a multi-sport gym, an elevated track, and space for rehabilitation, wellness, senior, and after-school programs. It's quite an undertaking. That's the sound of the historic press in the Vineyard Gazette offices in Edgartown printing the paper. That means it's time to go upstairs to the newsroom and check in with managing editor Ethan Genter on this week's news.
This week we had the Steamship Authority voting on its budget to cover a $7.4 million short gap. The steamship did approve raising rates kind of across the board. We have seen it for excursion rates. This is the first time in a few years. And now we're going to be turning to Katrina Liu, who did a couple stories this week about PFAS. We have seen PFAS around the island for several years now, but concerns had come up in Chilmark this week and earlier this month. Katrina, tell us about the news first with the Chilmark School.
Sure, absolutely. So on Monday at the Up Island Regional School Committee meeting, they voted to let the Chilmark School start using bottled water because the last time that the Chilmark School went through PFAS tests was January 2025. And while the amount of PFAS chemicals was under the threshold of concern, it's starting to become a hot topic. And it is very toxic to people, and people are worried, especially for their kids, to drink that kind of water. So now the bottled water is in effect.
And for people who aren't familiar with PFAS, they're a chemical compound found in all kinds of things, food packaging, firefighting foams, nonstick cookware. How did this get into the Chilmark School's water? Do we have any idea?
Town and school officials are really not quite sure because we've been seeing PFAS in Chilmark specifically, like you mentioned earlier, for a few years now, especially in people's private drinking wells. No one's really quite sure where that all came from. I think that everyone's still in the process of just getting to know what these chemicals are and then realizing that they are everywhere.
Yeah, and in places we've seen them before is on Cape Cod. They've been at the Firefighting Academy where they've used the foams. We've seen them over here at the airport, which has had a similar situation. And the research right now has shown, there is links to negative health effects, cancer, thyroid issues, all kinds of stuff that's all being developed right now. These health issues were raised to the select board earlier this month, right?
Yeah, so Chilmark resident Jessica Roddy was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer back in June or earlier this summer. And she was one of the residents whose wells was tested a few years ago as part of a state program. And her drinking wells PFAS amounts were above the threshold. So she dealt with that. But then when she was diagnosed with the cancer earlier this year, She then ordered a specialized blood test, and basically she thinks that the PFAS that was found in her drinking wells is a big part of her cancer diagnosis. So now it's becoming a bigger deal with the town when she brought it up earlier this month.
And her wells had the highest level of PFAS that they have found through testing in the town. And she told us that she has PFAS levels that are higher than 9/11 firefighters. We don't really know for sure if this link is what causing it, but this seemed to raise alarms for town officials in Chilmark, right?
Absolutely. So after she presented to the Chilmark Select Board, the week after, Board of Health had a meeting, and on their agenda was the PFAS situation, and town residents are concerned, as they should be, about what to do. Some people are just want to know what PFAS chemicals are, like you said, where they're found, and Board of Health is taking some action to dive deeper into possibilities of testing and also just resources that people can use to keep an eye on themselves and their own drinking wells.
Thank you, Katrina. That's been a great story. Go read about it on the vineyardgazette.com, folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We now have Gwen Skiles. She did a story this week about the potential of the Wampanoag flag flying at schools in the Up Island School District. This also happened at the Up Island School Committee on Monday. Gwen, tell us what the idea is here.
So there's a campaign to fly the Wampanoag Tribe of Gay Head Aquina flag outside of the island schools, and the Up Island Regional School Committee voted Monday to support that. They're still looking into logistics about how flag code would work with that, whether or not they need to purchase additional poles outside of schools. Many committee members said this was long overdue, and they're happy to give the representation to tribal students.
Yeah, and tell us about this was proposed by Brad Lopes. What was his reasoning behind doing this?
Yeah, so Brad Lopes is the education outreach coordinator for the Aquina Cultural Center, and he's also been a teacher before. And he said that in Mashpee, they have their tribal flag outside of schools, and it really just goes a long way to showing tribal students that they have a place in the community at the schools. And it also acknowledges the history that the school is on tribal land. And he even said personally, when walking into the school doors each day, it made him feel like he had a sense of belonging.
Great, and we still have a few logistics, like you said, to work out, and doesn't seem like they're going to be flying tomorrow, but this is something that the school officials all seemed on board with, right?
Yeah, so U.S. flag code says that any flag flown at the same height as the American flag has to be on an additional pole. So they're looking into whether or not they'd need to acquire those, how much it would cost. But overall, it seemed like the committee was dedicated to making it happen. And
for people who aren't familiar, what does the Wampanoag flag look like?
Yeah, so it has the tribal seal on it, which depicts the giant Moshup standing behind the Aquina Cliffs, and he's holding a whale in his left hand, and that's behind a white backdrop.
Yeah, and we have a picture of it on our website being held at the powwow, so go ahead and go read Gwen Skiles' story there. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Thank you.
You can read more on these stories and all the news for free at vineyardgazette.com. Saturday, head to the Ag Hall for the 5th Annual Harvest Festival. Activities include a pie-eating contest. These are fun to watch, but I would never want to participate in one. Also, this Saturday is the last outdoor West Tisbury Farmers Market for the season. Goodbye, fresh flowers, local produce, and egg rolls. Until next spring. And the Net Result in Vineyard Haven is closing for renovations from November 2nd to April 1st. They're upgrading their display cases, revamping their takeout area, and adding a new prep kitchen and raw bar to offer more prepared and ready-to-eat seafood items. As the weather starts to cool down, I've been thinking back to the walking tour I took on the African American Heritage Trail with our guide, Larry Jones.
So this is the Shearer Cottage.
The Shearer Cottage is the oldest African American owned inn on the island. It was listed in the Negro Motorist Green Book as a safe place for African American travelers to stay.
This was our first dedication on the tour 27 years ago. Charles and Henrietta Shearer. Charles Shearer, born enslaved, Appomattox, Virginia area. during the American Civil War. Union Army captures the area he's enslaved in. They find him shackled in the barn. They free him. Travels with the Army for a while. Ends up at Hampton Institute. All right? He graduates there in 1880. That's where he meets his wife, Henrietta. Teaches there for 12 years. All right? Starts making his move up north. Ends up in Everett, Massachusetts. Becomes a maitre d' for the Young's Hotel and the Parker Hotel. Joins the Tremont Baptist Church. That's how he gets down here, goes to the revivals.
The religious revivals were a key draw for summer visitors to Oak Bluffs, and the cottages and tabernacle are still a draw today, and the Shearer Cottage is a key part of that history. Our theme music is from island composer and musician Michael Hayden. If you like the show, please follow us so you won't miss an episode, and please tell a friend who loves the Vineyard. Thanks to our sponsor, Crane Appliance. When you shop at Crane Appliance, you get their appliance expertise, very competitive pricing, and service after the sale should you need it. Crane Appliance. They call the Cape and Islands home. I'm Monica Brady-Myrov. Thanks for joining us on The Vineyard. Talk to you next week.